Good morning, folks. Welcome to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, your host, and we're in luck because we're going to be speaking to Dr. Ajay Sharda from the Department of Agriculture Engineering at K-State, and we're going to be talking about sprayers, and they're not what they used to be. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and Dr. Ajay Sharda is with us. Ajay, good to see you. Thanks for being on the show this morning. Let's talk about sprayers. We got a little miniature one right here behind us for research purposes. Tell us a little bit about the evolution of sprayers, because like I said in the opening, they're not like they used to be.
No, they are not, Jim. And thank you again for having me. Well, a lot has happened over the last 10-15 years in terms of how the sprayers used to be. We used to have a very typical base system where we have a pump, we have a pressure regulator, we have a flow control, manual on-off systems. We have a boom and some nozzles put on that. Now the goal was that I knew what speed I want to, apply the product on. I know what pressure I'm going to maintain.
You hope.
I hope, yeah, that's a very good point. We're going to talk about that all along this this time frame. And then I used to calibrate my sprayer in some fashion, and I used to go out and apply product. Now, if you notice, the premise is I want to maintain my speed all the time so that I can maintain my application pressure. It was important because if I go over that speed or under that speed, I'll be either over applying or under applying the product.
Because the pressure will be going up as you speed up, and the pressure will go down as you slow down.
Absolutely,
correctly?
absolutely,
Correct?
absolutely. So that was the base system. The thing was, a lot of studies were done in the past where people went out and checked how the sprayer were doing, how the end users were doing in terms of calibrating those sprayers and making use of that technology. And a lot of that came out that the sprayers were not calibrated, wrong nozzles. They were not applying the product in terms of how it should be applied. So a lot of over application and under application in terms of the way people used to drive, on the farm.
So over application, there are all sorts of things, or under applications, there are all sorts of things that could go wrong. You could kill the crop and the weeds too, or vice versa. You don't kill the weeds and they do damage.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is the reason, the whole thing. We want to apply just the right amount of product for good efficacy, for good pest control, and not damage our crops. It has also as a bearing, Jim, we are talking about the cost of labor, making sure that we maintain straight paths. We did not have that technology at that time. I was just guessing that I'm not leaving any space unsprayed or overlapping too far because I have to either come back or I'm spending more time, fuel and chemical on the part which I have already sprayed. So these were a lot of things which used to happen in terms of the errors which were on the field, and we did not have a technology to control those kind of system inaccuracies at that time.
Okay, Ajay, we've got to take a break right now, and I know we're going to talk some more about these things behind us here, so hang on here.
Thank you.
Folks, we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors. See you in a minute.
To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agaminkansas.com. Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
KFRM is one of the largest farm radio stations in the nation, dedicated to informing and entertaining rural listeners from northern Oklahoma to southwestern Nebraska. You can catch KFRM in many ways. Of course, 550 on the AM dial, streaming at KFRM.com, or on your smartphone by going to the TuneIn Radio app, or on Ag AM in Kansas on Tuesdays and Facebook every day of the week. KFRM, tune us in. You'll be glad you did.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and Dr. Ajay Sharda didn't run off during the break, and I see you guys didn't either. So welcome back. Ajay, the last second, we were basically talking about a spray and pray type of a system, and in the evolutionary process, we've kind of moved up a little bit. So now take us to the next step.
Well, Jim, the next step was an obvious one where people want a little bit more control in terms of how the sprayers used to function, a little bit more knowledge in terms of how they were using technology, and some more assistance when they are using their technology in the field to be more productive and precise. Okay. So if we talk about these 2 or 3 things, the whole thing started with having some sort of a rate control systems on the sprayers. So rate control system means it's not a spray and pray system anymore. It means that you set your system up for a certain application rate to apply at a certain pressure, because we have to follow product label, right, and at a certain speed. Now, when I slow down or speed up to keep up my productivity and efficiencies of time and everything, my rate control system will help me to keep my application rate constant all the time. Okay. That means that if I slow down, it will ramp down the RPMs on the pump so that I can still put out the amount of product going out of those nozzles to have an application rate which I decided to put on. Okay. Or if I speed up, then I can ramp up my pump to put more product at the nozzle end so I can put the same amount of product needed for that kind of application.
And this system is called a what?
Rate control systems. Okay. So they were rate control systems.
Or a flow-based?
These are flow-based because you, as you very rightly pointed out, because I'm saying I'm ramping at the amount of product flow rate in the system. So that what that happen means that I'm changing the flow based on speeding up or slowing down. Right. We also started to see some sort of a guidance systems, an auto steer. Now that was helping the growers in terms of maintaining straight paths. I have lesser chances of doing stuff like over application or leaving gaps on it. And we also started to have a system called automatic section control technology on it. Okay. Yeah. Which means that if I have sprayed that area before, or if I know that I do not want to spray that area, or if that spray area lies outside my boundary, then that system will automatically shut off. It keeps track of the areas which has been sprayed in the past, or I don't want to, so I can reduce my double applications and save on chemical, save on fuel, labor, and other costs.
Right. Okay.
So these systems start to help growers to be much more efficient. They used to give at the very end a very unique piece of information which is called as applied data.
As applied data.
As applied data, and those can be turned into maps, and I can see how I did in terms of my application rate. It greatly reduced the amounts of over and under applications. Now I can optimize on my productivity. I know the product application, and I was able to minimize my overlaps and my misses.
And that's dollars and cents we're talking about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Not wasting or saving, so to speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, because the chemical is costly, the chemical is potent, and we want to be very sure that we apply the product in the right manner.
AJ, we got to take a break.
Thank you.
Folks, we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer, and Dr. Ajay Sharda is still with us. Thanks, Ajay. Ajay, there was a big jump to go from the flow-based system recently, or in the recent past. What are some of the problems, though, with that system? And that's going to lead us into some more discussion of what's going on now. But what were some of the problems?
Well, I would not say there
Or
are
gaps.
Yeah. So where we were, so if you're using a flow-based control system, we still have to understand that the pressure is the application pressure is really important. I'm going to keep pounding that idea of following the label, because the label is the law. And when you select a product, there's a clear indication of which application pressure you want to apply, what should be your droplet size, what should be your speed. Speed is a little irrelevant thing, because if you can maintain your droplet size and pressure, you can go slow or fast. But when we're talking about flow-based control systems, we are ramping up the amount of product flow rate in the system. Now, what that does is that increases the pressure when I'm speeding up, and that decreases the pressure when I'm slowing down. And you'll be amazed that people drive anywhere from 4 to 18, 20 miles per hour in the field. Your application pressures can be anywhere from 30, 35 to 85, 90 psi. So what does that do to the droplet size?
A wide range of droplet size.
Exactly. So I did not have the kind of droplet size distribution I'm looking for, because when I slow down, I have a lot more droplets which are bigger. But when I speed up, I have a lot more droplets which are of finer or smaller size. That increases the chances of drift.
Killing the neighbor's tomatoes.
Absolutely.
A mile away.
That's true. When I'm on lower pressure, I do not have the coverage I needed. When I'm higher, I have a lot more driftables. So drift increases, my coverage goes down, my efficacy goes down. I have a chances of off-target application going on my neighbor's farms.
Right. Okay.
So these are some of the things which are getting more and more important in terms of farmers to be careful about. People can still keep using this technology, but they have to be mindful that they should be maintaining a tighter speed range, so that their application pressures are constant. Their droplet size distribution is what they need. They still need to do calibration, whether it is calibration of nozzles, calibration of their flow meter. They have to select the right system parameters, to program that. But it can happen. But if you want to maximize your productivity, maximize your time and profitability, maybe we need something different.
Okay. We're going to take a break now, AJ, and then we're going to talk about where we are now and those changes. Folks, we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
As fourth-generation farmers themselves, Heinen Brothers Ag Service understands the risk and rewards of farming. So when it comes to quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia, call Heinen Brothers Ag today, 800-760-4964.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer. Dr. Ajay Sharda is with us. And Ajay, we've been talking about the flow rate system basically. And now there's a newer system called the what?
Pulse width modulation.
Pulse width modulation. Okay. PWM.
PWM, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's what we have here.
That's what we have here. So we talk about flow-based systems, great systems. We still have a lot of those systems on the farm. They can work great, but if we understand how they work and understand their constraints in terms of making them to put to use in a right manner. Okay. Now, what we have is a lot of manufacturers, be it Raven, Topcon, the T-Jet, or Capstan, John Deere, all these people are moving to this pulse width modulation technology. Now, what this technology does is it modulates, turn the nozzles on and off in a paired fashion or individual nozzle part of it.
And I guess I'm old school. That just makes me scratch my head. So, well, how does that work? But you're going to tell me.
Yes, I will. Now, the thing is, we talk about, putting the right amount of, product out of the nozzle.
Right.
So what we do is, we have what we call as a cycle in a second. If it is if you have, most of the systems are 10 hertz systems. John Deere system is a 30 hertz system. So if you have a 10 hertz system, so there are 100 millisecond cycles.
Right.
And in each 100 millisecond cycle, the longer I stay on, the more product I can put out from this nozzle.
Okay.
So that means if I'm going faster,
you want the modulation to be on
for a longer duration.
Okay.
And that is that the time for which I keep the nozzles open using this solenoid is called duty cycle.
Duty cycle.
Duty cycle.
Okay.
So the faster I go, the longer duty cycle or the higher duty cycle I have, and the slower I go, and it's conversely.
Okay.
Now, some of the advantages which we get is that this system is able to maintain constant pressure at all time.
Okay.
And we modulate the flow. We are increasing or decreasing the flow by modulating, means by changing the duty cycle.
Right.
So there is no ramping up of the pump RPM and getting the right flow in the system. All I have to do is change the duty cycle and start putting the new amount of or new flow rate out of these nozzles as I speed up or slow down.
Now these are, so that would mean that each one of these nozzles is independent.
Absolutely.
And you can, so when you're making that turn, the inside is slowing down, so the duty cycle is slower, and the outside is going faster. It opens up automatically.
Absolutely, that's a very good point. That is some of the advantages of having a technology which can control the flow on each individual nozzle, and that which is called turn compensation and contour forming. When we talk about the planting systems, is that I can change that duty cycle. I can still maintain my my application pressure. I will have the same type of droplet size distribution, which is very important for coverage and overlap at all times.
AJ, we got to stop and take a break here. Folks, we'll be right back after these words from our sponsors.
This is Eric Stonestreet, and as many of you know, I love my home state of Kansas. In March, Kansas ranchers lost homes, equipment, and thousands of cattle from the largest wildfires in the state's history. Imagine losing all you have in a fire. Not just your house, but your livelihood. Ranchers are beginning to rebuild, but it will take years and tens of millions of dollars to build back herds, fences, and other infrastructure. Today, I'm asking you to help. Donate what you can and show your support to the ranchers of Kansas. Simply go to kansasfires.com. Your donation is tax deductible and will go to those who need it the most.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except for when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulders sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. And he said, well, we'll have to do surgery. I thought, I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. And I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio and gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
That's My Farm is brought to you in part by Tallgrass Commodities. Big enough to serve, small enough to care.
Welcome back to That's My Farm. I'm Jim Shroyer. AJ, thanks for being with us in this last segment. AJ, you know, in that last segment we were talking about the pulse system, the pulse width modulation system, on, off, all the time through the field. And, you know, it just seems to me, can you see that? Can you see that thing, the nozzles going on and off? What does that look like?
Well, Jim, we know this is, we're gonna turn the sprayer on, and now you can see that as the nozzles spray on and off, and when the solenoids go on and off, and you know the way they turn on, you can actually see those things very fast happening. You cannot differentiate, but we can slow down that that moment, and you can see in a slow motion, and you can see the nozzles coming on and nozzles going off at a very rapid pace. And that's a beautiful thing to see. You can see in your monitor that my pressure is constant. You can also see on your monitor that your duty cycle goes up and down as you speed up, slow down. You know, when we use a typical flow-based system, I cannot control a flow rate in each individual boom, because then I have to have individual flow control systems for each boom. Now I only have a solenoid to change that flow rate. And that is, I'm not saying that is the problem of, you know, the chemical resistance or ineffective weed control on headlands or turnings, just because of that. But if you can have a system which can accurately apply product everywhere.
Where you want it to at the rate.
Right, exactly. Especially, you know, things happen because people say that we don't know when we enter into headland or when we exit headland how our systems behave. Right. You know, sometimes it takes 5, 6, 7, 10 seconds to apply. You know, these things can turn a little bit faster than that. So those are some of the big advantages in terms of what you want to do. Another thing is that, you know, in flow-based systems there are, you know, boom control valves, and they are great as well. You know, and now we have individual nozzle control, which keeps my pressure intact. Just like my individual nozzle control in flow-based system, these also hold my pressure all the time, because I am just turning the solenoid off, and the moment I turn it on, it immediately catches up, and then when I close, it shuts off immediately.
What are we going to see in the future?
Well, from my perspective, coverage, understanding how my system is putting product on my crop is going to be of utmost important, because chemicals are becoming costly. They're becoming more potent. You know, they are
very potent.
Exactly. If I really want them to be on my field, you know, if I'm spending money or, you know, for whatsoever, I don't want to leave my field onto somebody's yard or water bodies or soil. So understanding coverage, how good or effective coverage I can get from my systems is going to be very, very critical.
AJ, thanks for taking time, showing us this little apparatus here. Appreciate it. Folks, thanks for being with us on this episode of That's My Farm. And don't forget, next week about this same time, we'll have another one of That's My Farm. See you then.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.